Well, first off, congratulations, guys. It is an amazing show. I absolutely loved it.
Thank you so much.
And it really inspired me, actually, to try and get myself in more galleries. And here we are. We've got the place to ourselves. How lucky are we?
Very lucky.
Now, on numerous occasions throughout the shows, you were quite moved by a lot of the music, a lot of the art that you saw. I would love to know, what is the first piece of art or music that you ever remember being moved by?
That's a good question.
So most journalists ask you really sort of banal questions. And also they pretend that they've seen the show when they haven't.
We can tell you have. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'll take the music, because there's a song that it's always a real difficult situation when someone says, what's your favourite song? Because there's millions that I could probably list off. But there's one song that I just remember the first time I heard it instantly being hooked. And I don't know what it was. And now I always go back to that song. And it's probably going to be quite surprising, but it's All Saints, Pure Shores. To me, it's the perfect song. And the reason why I choose that song is because it doesn't matter if you're sad, you can listen to that song.
I know that.
I know you do, because I played you that song. If you're happy, you can listen to that song. Just the composition of it, the writing of it, I don't know, it feels different to other songs. So I'd probably say the first time I heard that song, I was like, what is this sound?
Yeah.
And what does it mean?
Felt different.
Yeah, it did. And it still does today.
Love that I know that song. There's so many. Painting, Paint Turner. I was really little, and at school they had, at primary school I went to, despite the fact that I sound like I've been mugged by a Mitford, people make assumptions, branded on the tongue, as Bernard Shaw said. I went to a very standard state school, actually, seeing as the film's out, same one as Amy Winehouse, so how I really sound, I'm not on camera. And there was like a children's book of art, and in it they had Rain, Steam and Speed, which, in fact, I just saw on the way here a poster of, and it was the first time that I was overwhelmed by this idea that colour could create not just composition. Obviously, I'm thinking about it now as a grown-up, just moved by this piece of work, thinking, how is that possible? In the way that a child might, or I did, view magic for the first time.
What a great question.
Such a good question.
But we'll come full circle, you've just seen that piece here. Who would have thought? That was amazing.
Yeah, the poster.
Poster of it, yeah. And now, Rylan, I think something that you said will resonate quite well with our audience, which was that it's not necessarily the art that can intimidate you, but it's people talking about the art. Do you think this can be a barrier for people accessing artwork?
100%. I mean, I'm quite confident in a lot of things. People can throw me into situations and I'll just hopefully wing it. I feel like I've been winging it for the last 12 years anyway. But actually doing the show when I knew it was going to be a BBC Arts Commission, my first thought was, no, absolutely not. But then when the show concept was a little bit more established and it became what we wanted it to be, it's Rob showing me his world, me showing Rob my world, it changed everything. And just today, walking in here, I walked into a room just now and went, Caravaggio. And he was like, wiping one tear away. It's an educational show without being hello and welcome to education. It's very much accessible for everyone. And Rob just hit the nail on the head when he was speaking about the Turner. Go and see it, because anyone can. And during the show, we were so lucky to have the Uffizi in Florence shut down for us. For us,
it was shut. It was Monday.
Yeah.
Didn't shut it just because we.
Well, I'm gonna.
Wasn't like Beyonce and Madonna showing.
It was basically that, really. And yeah, to be standing in front of Venus by myself and realizing that the only person that knows what that painting is supposed to be is the person that painted it. You could have this person going, oh, it's about beauty. You can have someone else going, it's about the dirty feet. Oh, it's entirely up to you what you make of that painting. And that's why art is subjective. And yeah, just walking through here today, coming to speak to you, there's names on the wall. If you were to ask me who they are, I know who they are, which I wouldn't have known before this show.
Also, it doesn't matter whether you know who they are or not. I mean, one of the great gifts is to watch Rylan have, and this is a critical element for me, this authentic connection with the art. One of the great problems, to say the very least, in our country, but in other countries as well, especially amongst us, is class and who are the gatekeepers, who gets to determine your narrative. And exactly, that's one of the lovely things about being alongside Rylan, is this idea that all of us have the power, the gift to grab back the pen in life and write our own narrative, regardless of the story that's been written for us. And often we grow up in communities alongside people say, that's not for you, or nowadays, stay in your lane. all you need to do is to have, I'd say to some extent, the courage, the open-mindedness, the cultural curiosity to walk into a space, stand and look and see what impact it has on you. Just own it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of our national spaces are for everybody. And that's what I've loved so much, more than anything else. The most important thing, be it with All Saints or a great Caravaggio, is how did that make me feel? And when it touches you, it's like love. It's the most profound thing. It's the reason that people wrote poetry or chiseled paintings on walls.
During the show as well, you talked about how images of masculinity have been shaped by this period. For example, with Michelangelo's David, that beautiful sculpture. And I'd love to know what you think the current pressures that men face are now, what you think they've been influenced by.
It's a really good question.
Can you come back?
Like, no, I'm not joking. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you feel like you're being like a secret, like something.
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly, it's,
you need a rate.
and an actual show all the time. It is a great question, actually. And for me, when we visited Florence, that was really interesting to study that side of masculinity, because, and rightly so, we talk about femininity a lot in this current age, and we speak about women empowerment and what women have to go through daily to be the perfect woman, shall we say, or to be feminine. And, you know, masculinity quite a lot of the time gets overlooked when it comes down to that. And to be in the home, well, what I believe is the birthplace of masculinity, to see David and realise that this is exactly where it all come from. This is why men believe we should have a six-pack. This is why men believe that they should be this muscular physique, and that is the striving goal. But then to go around the corner and see another statue of David in bronze, the Donatello, not Michelangelo's version, where David's depicted as a young boy with a little bit of a belly. It just makes you go, hold up, we've all focused so much on this, thinking that this is the perfect man, but someone else created David in a different image, equally as famous. But for some reason, we just grabbed onto that and go, well, that's what a man should look like. So yeah, to explore that in Florence, which is, I'd say, probably one of the most masculine influenced cities I've ever been to, because it's everywhere. Wherever you look, it's man. It's the city of the man. You know, in the show, we were very lucky enough to be part of Culture Storico, which is basically the Hunger Games in Florence. And there, if you want to see masculinity on show, that is the place to go. And to be front row and feel the sweat and blood literally was very, very interesting. I think Rob had a movement, didn't you?
Did. Yeah. I was totally against it, and I was definitely converted by the end of it.
Yeah, you looked it.
Interesting what you just said there, though, is when who gets to determine what perfect is?
No one.
Who gets to determine what the aspiration is? And exactly as Ryan suggested, in that Renaissance period, I think like this perfect pearl, this idea that somebody externally has shaped what the perfect articulation, the vision of man is. And over time, the gatekeepers, again, the people who write the story about how you're supposed to look, have such an influence on how we, all of us, determine how we look. They're exploring the idea that if you don't live up to that ideal, the Renaissance being this sort of idealized version of man, somehow within that gulf between how you feel you look and that vision is shaped over centuries. And that's something which is worth thinking about exploring, whether it's men or it's women.
Yeah.
I never saw Rylan when he stood in front of Venus de Milo until I watched it back for the first time, well, several months later. And I was so profoundly moved by what he said. The idea, I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but actually the beauty, as is so often the case with a lover,
It's in the imperfections.
it's in the imperfection.
I'm very cultured, I should say, very cultured.
And now we are coming up to summer holiday season. A lot of our audience, I'm sure, will be booking those flights away. We would love to know, what do you think makes a good travel partner? I'm sure you've got experience this now, having gone away with each other. What
I would love to know.
would you?
Do you know what? What's made our relationship so strong is me and Rob are the same person, but the complete opposites. We are very different people. So if we go to a place, whether it be Florence, Venice, Rome, we will have 2 different weeks if we were alone, very much so. But that is what made it work for this show as well. You know, it's not a travel log. It's not an art show. It's not a reality show. It's real. It's real reality. And I think understanding each other and loving each other's strange habits, shall we say?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, I don't know how I did 3 weeks with him without finishing him off.
Finishing me off.
Not like that. You wish.
You know, when you travel with somebody, it's absolutely being present and trusting that they're emotionally present.
Yeah.
Which is a sort of overstated way of going, I want to go to bed now, fine.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I mean, I breathed a sigh of relief when you said,
It's that where you could completely be alongside one another or not. And know that whatever happens, as I say, an hour later, somebody's not going to be atmosphering because you're honestly alongside one another on the journey. That's the best bit. Do you fancy going out? No. Okay, see you later.
bye, darling.